Hello, I have a microphone now, which is a very exciting development. I'm not sure that I'm using it right, so apologies if it takes me like a video or two to actually figure out how to use it. I am trying my best, and that's what really matters at the end of the day. But anyway, let's just get into what this video is going to be. And now I have this like fun little prop I'm gonna do stupid things with. I gotta hold it straight. Everything's gonna be fine. Anyway, today I want to continue my Boygenius book club series, and we're gonna be taking on. Today I'm going to be continuing my Boygenius book club series, and we're going to be reading Lucy Dacus's favorite books. So, let me pull up the little thing that explains her favorite books, because I'm not prepared like I should be. The first book that Lucy Dacus has recommended that I'm going to be reading is one that's been on my TBR for a very long time. I've talked about it at length. I've always been very excited about this book, and I finally have the good excuse to read it. And that is The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin. I'm so psyched about this. I don't know much about it. What I do know is that it takes place in a sci-fi world because it's Ursula K. Le Guin. And it also follows like an alien race that has no concept of gender. So that's kind of what she's playing with in this novel. If you haven't read any Ursula K. Le Guin, like her novels kind of play with a lot of like social political issues, but in a sci-fi universe. So I'm really excited to see her take on gender. And what Lucy has said of this book is as follows. Julian just had me read The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin, which is awesome and totally sci-fi and nerdy. I've grown a heart for sci-fi in the past year or two because it's so different from the real world. It feels like a hard exit. When I'm in the van, it's nice to just jump into something that's completely different from where I am. So that teaches us a couple of things about Lucy in this book. First of all, Julian recommended it, so it's kind of like a two-hitter. Actually, a lot of the books that I have for Lucy and Julian have like overlap there. Like they both have just loved each other's book and recommended each other so many books. It's really sweet. Also, she's read this one on tour, so that's exciting. It's like a real glimpse into the Boygenius mindset, I guess. But anyway, I'm gonna get reading this. I will update you once I'm a little bit further in and have some actual coherent thoughts or can actually summarize the plot for you. And yeah, you know how this video goes. You've seen these before. I will see you soon. Goodbye. Hello, I am checking in. I'm on page 122 of The Left Hand of Darkness. So I can finally give you a little bit of a summary, although I feel like I can't give a great summary, but I'm going to try my best. So essentially so far in this book, you're following like an anthropologist that has been sent to this planet. And the planet... Oh god, I'm already doing a bad job. So essentially you're following this anthropologist or ambassador that's been sent to this planet that's called Winter, which is a world where the gender of every person is fluid. And the anthropologist is there because they have the goal to involve Winter in this intergalactic commission. Well, not commission, civilization. There's like trading groups, there's like communication between all these different planets, and they're just trying to get Winter to go in on that. But he's having a very difficult time. And essentially you're like exploring this world along with him and learning about the world as he does. The world is like really interesting and complex. I still don't really understand the gender fluidity. Like I don't understand how the gender works in this world completely. From my understanding, they don't really have genitals most of the time. It's only during certain periods of time. And during that time, they could have a penis or a vagina. Like they're not just stuck with one. So it's kind of like animals and where there's like mating seasons in that sense. And I think that's how it works, but I'm not completely sure. But it's really interesting, and it's interesting to see how that affects other things in the world. Like for instance, there's this whole theory that this world doesn't have any war, and there's this whole theory that the reason they don't have war is because there isn't like this aggression that other people have because of their genderless state. It's also really interesting because this was written before, I don't want to say before like the non-binary movement, because there's always been non-binary people, but it was definitely written before that was more commonplace, I guess. So I feel like if this were written today, like everyone would be called like they or them, but she just reverts to calling everyone he, which is really interesting, or at least the main character does. So it's kind of interesting reading it because they're referring to every character as a guy, but then when you're actually thinking about it, you have to realize that they're not a guy, like they're just non-binary. So I'm having a really good time with this so far. I'm honestly struggling to read it, but not through any fault of the book. I'm going through finals. I mention this in every video, but I'm in law school. This is actually my last semester of law school. I finished my last class of law school yesterday, so I'm in my last finals period ever, which is great. but I just can't do anything recently, so I'm really struggling to read. But the book itself is good, so there's no reason I should be struggling to read. I'm just being a little shithead. I'm honestly enjoying it so far. I'm just having trouble getting into it because of my current mental state. But yeah, I'm having a lot of fun, and I'll update you when I'm finished with the book. Goodbye. Hi. I just finished The Left Hand of Darkness. Let's talk about it a little bit. So I ending up giving this book 3.5 stars. I think my expectations were too high for it. I was really convinced I was going to love this. I've been looking forward to reading it for such a long time. And after reading The Dispossessed by Ursula Le Guin, I just was convinced that all of her books were going to be perfect. And I think I kind of just had like unfair expectations for this book, especially because I was so excited about the gender dynamics. I think my main issue with this book is I just felt like I wasn't understanding everything, which could just be a me issue. Maybe I'm just kind of dumb. I probably am. In a hard sci-fi, it's completely normal for the beginning to be confusing when like all these names and like customs and names of places are being thrown out at you. But at some point it's supposed to get like a little bit easier, and I suppose it did get a little bit easier for me. But at the end of the day, like I still felt like I wasn't understanding everything the amount that I wanted to. So it just, again, 3.5 stars. I think it was a good book. I think I'll like it a lot more in a reread when I have like better expectations for it, but it just wasn't hitting for me, especially this week. I think I was also in a little bit of a reading slump, so that was not helping. That said, I do understand why Lucy likes it. I do understand, like, this is a really, really, really popular, really well-loved book, so it makes sense that Lucy would like it. I think it also makes sense for Lucy because it explores kind of like a socio-political topic when it's talking about gender, and Lucy's very interested in politics and like social justice and stuff like that, so I think it makes sense for her to be interested in this book. And again, like in the little description she gave, she mentioned it being like a nice escapism, and I think that makes sense as well. Like when you're on tour, when you're just like really giving everything your all every day, it must be really tiring, and it must be nice to just kind of like escape into a different world. And that's one thing this book did really well. Like I think the whole book is just an examination of this, like a long examination of this fictional world, which is perhaps like why I didn't understand it completely until like the end, or why I felt like I was having trouble understanding it. Like maybe you're not supposed to. Maybe you're supposed to go into this book and just like be a part of this world, and then like towards the end have a better understanding of it than you did in the beginning. And I did, so maybe it did accomplish that goal. So who knows? But those are my thoughts on The Left Hand of Darkness. Next, I'm going to be picking up, I can't say this author's last name, I'm going to warn you that in advance. I'm going to be picking up Letters to a Young Poet by Rainer Maria Rilke. I think that might be it, but I could be dead wrong. Let's hear what Lucy had to say about this. I have to get my laptop. Where is it? She said, I remember lessons from this a lot. It's so wise and gentle. I've underlined this. The more still, more patient, and more open we are when we're sad, so much the deeper and so much the more unswervingly does the new go into us. So much the better do we make it ours. And then she says, that's great. So, I don't know what to expect out of this. It's not really the type of thing I would normally pick up. I hate to say it seems like self-helpy because it doesn't. Like, that's not quite the right term for it. But it does seem like it's a very, like, inspirational text, which really isn't my shit. So I'm going to sit down, I'm going to give this a go, and I'll update you when I finished it, because it's really short, so I'm not going to bother checking in midway. See you soon. Hello. Okay, so I'm wearing the same shirt as I was yesterday. Well, last night, and we're just not going to acknowledge it because I'm in final exams right now, so I'm allowed to do whatever I want. I'm also missing all the pillows on my bed because I'm washing the pillowcases, and it felt weird to have the naked pillows on my bed. So I'm just doing great in general. I'm feeling very stable. So I finished Letters to a Young Poet. Let's talk about it. Essentially, like, I feel like I don't need to explain this, but it's essentially just like very lyrical, like life-changing advice that Rilke wrote to an aspiring young writer. And the back says it's among the most inspiring expressions of youthful creativity there has ever been. So that's nice. I don't have too many thoughts on this book because, what is it? It's 50 pages, so I can't have a lot of thoughts on it. Oh, Saphira's looking at me. Do you have anything to say? She's purring, but I don't know if the mic can pick it up or not. She's just gazing at me full of love. I love her. Okay, so I don't have a lot of thoughts, to be honest. The thing is that, like, yeah, this is beautiful. The writing is beautiful. The advice is beautiful. I can see how this can be life-changing for people. But for me, like, I think I'm just too cynical for stuff like this. I gave it 3 stars to acknowledge that it is really beautiful, really lyrical. Like, the writing in here is gorgeous. There's no getting past that. So I did enjoy it. But, like, as I was reading it, I was like, wow, this is beautiful. Or, like, wow, that's, like, a nice way of looking at things. But it didn't, like, touch my heart or anything like that. So I think maybe I'm just not the right type of person for this book. I can see why Lucy likes it, because again, beautiful, 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 beautiful. That's the one word to describe this book. And it makes sense because Lucy obviously isn't a great writer, so it makes sense that she would also appreciate great writing. But it's just not for me, I don't think. I think, like, I'll try to read it again in the future, maybe when I'm less cynical and I'll like it more. But we're picking up the next book, which is also a short one, and that is The Fire Next Time by James Baldwin. I have no idea what this is about. What I do know is that I've been dying to read some James Baldwin. I've never read anything by him before, which is crazy, because everyone loves him, and everyone talks about how, like, prolific he is, so I just need to read him. And about this book, Lucy says, in particular, The Fire Next Time is the one that has made such a huge impact on me for similar reasons to Rilke. Rilke? God. Can't say shit. And how to create the world and not be destroyed, and what's at the core of the human experience that can be clung to. Okay, so I do hope this is a little bit different than Letters to a Poet. Letters to a Young Poet. I hope this is more of my thing, but I'm gonna get reading, and again, since it's a short one, I'll update you when I'm done. Goodbye. Anything to say, Saphir? Any final words? I'm desperately trying to get her purring on the mic. I don't think it's working. I'm sorry, Saphira. Okay, goodbye now. Hello. I have finally finished, not finally, because I've really enjoyed myself. I have finished The Fire Next Time by James Baldwin, and holy fucking shit. Like, Letter to a Young Poet didn't really work for me, but this fucking worked for me. I really relate to Lucy talking about how, like, eye-opening of a novel this is. Not a novel, essays. But this really had an impact on me. I've never read anything by James Baldwin before. His writing is amazing. It's so remarkable. I loved reading this. I think this is comprised of 2 different essays. The one that hit me the most was the first one. What's it called? My Dungeon Shook. The letter to his nephew on the 100th anniversary of the Emancipation. I don't even know how to summarize my thoughts on this. It's such a short book, so I don't really have that many thoughts other than just being completely, like, transformed by this. Like, I feel like a different person than I was before I read it. I just, like, there were so many things I underlined, so much, like, I had visceral reactions to reading this book. In fact, let me find it. It's on page 40 when he's talking about his time working as, like, a pastor. Let me read this quote to you. When I watch all the children, their copper, brown, and beige faces staring up at me as I taught Sunday school, I felt that I was committing a crime in talking about the gentle Jesus, and telling them to reconcile themselves to their misery on earth in order to gain the crown of eternal life. Were only Negroes to gain this crown? Was heaven, then, to be merely another ghetto? Holy shit. Like, holy shit. I, like, made a noise when I first read that. I gasped. It's just so powerful, and I can't get over it. I want to read everything that James Baldwin has ever written now. I only have one more thing by him on my shelves, but as soon as this video is over, I'm definitely going to be picking it up. I can't recommend this highly enough. I think this is a must read. I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. So, with that, the next book I'm going to be reading is actually right behind me, so let me get it quick. I'm very excited about this one. This is the last book I'm going to be reading as well. House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. About this book, Lucy said, I might have to say House of Leaves by Mark Danielewski is my favorite book, because it broke my understanding of books and what they can achieve. It's hardly a book at all. It's more like a sculpture with paper, words, and plot. I wouldn't want to describe it any more than that. I've heard so much about this book. Like, I don't quite know what it's about, but I've heard so much just about the form that it takes. Like, there's some pages where it's just like a sentence, some pages you have to, like, turn it around to read it. Like, he really plays with form in this book. And I've heard so many people say it's their favorite book. And I paid like $30, I think, for it. Like, it was an expensive book. but I'm hoping it's gonna be worth it. I'm so pumped, and I will check in with you about the halfway mark. So I'll see you then. Hello to me again. I'm sick, so excuse the way I look and sound. I just wanted to give you a little update. I'm on page, let me see. I'm on page 72 of House of Leaves. So I'm not halfway by any means because this book is like 700 fucking pages. But I'm in far enough that I can give you a little summary of what the book's about, or at least I can do my best because it's a very complicated book. Essentially, you're following this family that just moved into a new house, and they're slowly figuring out that the house is bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. And they're finding this out because they come home and all of a sudden there's like an extra closet. They come home and all of a sudden there's an extra hallway. They go in to explore that hallway and there's like other hallways branching out of it. So you're reading about this story about this family. And then that story was written by this old man named Zampano or something like that. So you're reading his like report on this like documentary that the family made. And you're also reading from the point of view of this man who found Zampano's notes and is like currently reading it himself as he starts to go a little crazy. So it's very complicated. Like you're reading the report that he wrote, but then there's like footnotes that'll have like his thoughts, or footnotes that will have the thoughts of the guy who found his notes and is currently reading them. So it's really fun because you're kind of taken in all different directions. And then there's stuff in the back as well. Like currently what I'm reading is there's some letters from the one guy's mother that I'm reading, the guy who like found the report and is reading it. It's really interesting so far. It hasn't quite gotten my attention yet. I think because the narrative is so unique and cool, I'm having a little bit of trouble connecting to the story because it takes you like, just as I feel myself getting really invested in reading about the family and like how their house is bigger on the inside, all of a sudden we go off on a tangent about the guy who like found Zampano's reports and like something from his life in the tattoo shop that he works in. Or all of a sudden I'm in the back appendix reading these letters that his mother wrote him when he was a child. And the letters go on for quite a long while, I can't lie. So I'm having fun, but I'm just not quite invested yet, and I feel like I should be more invested because I do appreciate how unique and how cool the book is. But that's just where I'm at. I will check back in once I have finished this book, which I have a feeling is going to be a while from now. I'm also going home next week, so I won't be able to film it all, so we'll see when I manage to come back to you. For you, it's just going to be a matter of seconds. For me, it could be like an entire week or two. So, see ya! Okay, I'm back, and I have Saphira here, and she's very, very happy. And I had good news. I finished House of Leaves, which I'm sure is such a shock. I'm sure you didn't see that coming. It's just the natural conclusion of the video and nothing else. So my thoughts. I don't have like too much more to say. Like I said, the one storyline just didn't interest me as much. But I do think at the end of the day that this is a really, really unique story, and I'm glad that I read it. I think I'd give it 4 stars. The thing about House of Leaves is that it's so like, it's kind of like an A24 movie and like it's subtly creepy. Like, when I say I like horror movies, I don't mean I like movies that make me feel like I'm gonna be jump scared at any moment. I like movies that get under my skin and make me like, they're deep and dark and psychologically scare me. Just not physically scare me, if that makes any sense at all. And House of Leaves does that. It's a really subtly scary book. I think it's brilliant, honestly. I was so interested in the Davidson's storyline. I loved hearing about the house. I just didn't really care that much about Johnny, to be honest. I also think it probably could have ended on a stronger note, but I won't be too picky with it. I do think it's a really unique, really creative book. It was fun because, like, there were times where you had to turn the book around to read it, so you'd have to turn it upside down or on its side, and it was just so creative with the way that it was written. There were, like, transcripts. There were, like, written as a nonfiction. There were just, it was great. I really enjoyed it. What does it tell me about Lucy Dacus? I have no fucking clue. I know that she talked a lot about like the form of the book and how it played with that. So I think it makes sense that she would like that. As a writer, like I think that's something that a writer can appreciate. But really what I've learned in this video is that Lucy has great taste. Like Ursula K. Le Guin, James Baldwin, House of Leaves, I appreciate all of these. I appreciate Letters to a Young Poet as well, okay? But just, it's my least favorite of the bunch, I think. And that's just a me problem. It has nothing to do with the book itself. If I had to rank these in order of favorites, I would choose the James Baldwin text first, House of Leaves, The Left Hand of Darkness, and then Letters to a Young Poet. But overall, I had a lot of fun doing this. And we have one more member of Boygenius left. So next time, not next time, but at some point, you'll be seeing a Julian Baker version of this video. Let me know if there's any other celebrities that you want me to do a little book club for down below. I can't say I know many celebrities. I don't really keep up. So I might not know who they are if you write someone down there. But just do it anyway. Let's just see. Let me know if you've read any of these books. And just comment anything because I love responding to your comments. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.